Hello, my name is Amy, and I unironically love the 2003 movie The Italian Job. Welcome to the podcast, Can You Take My Shift? This podcast is about bonding with your coworkers about how much you hate your job. So, since the tables have turned this week, Kelsey, can you take my shift?
Well, see, I promised you I'd watch The Italian Job, but I haven't seen it on any streaming services, so I'm gonna be searching for it for 3 hours and probably get 5 viruses on my computer, so you can see I'm very busy.
And I'm gonna call you out on that BS of a lie, Missy. It is available to watch on Netflix. That's where I watch it. So take that. Then you can take my shift.
Oh my god. Well, welcome back to the podcast. It has been a rough week for the two of us. So, since it's been a crummy, crappy, good old rainy week, I think we're just gonna get into the bread and butter.
Yeah, from more restrictions to finishing school to work to weather, whatever. This week, we just changed it up a little bit so we didn't have to self-deprecate, listen to our self-talk, get really sad. We brought in someone to talk to make things more fun and interesting.
Exactly. So instead of complaining for an hour, we have a lovely interview. So today we have a very special guest with us, my dear friend, my ex-coworker, ex-roommate, ex-lover, who knows? Camille, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to have you here with us today. So I want to take a call back to the very first episode of the podcast. I asked Amy, what was her first impression of me? What was your first impression of me? Because you've known me longer.
My first impression of you, I feel like I didn't quite know what exactly to think. I was like, either this girl is hella shy or she's kind of a stuck-up bitch. Wasn't really sure.
Honestly, yeah, that's a really good, that kind of sums her up
just kind of like, bit. Yeah. You initially were very kept to yourself and you weren't going to say anything unless spoken to initially. And you're kind of like, okay, what's this girl's deal? But that's also because you're new, right? So you're nervous.
Yeah, no, it was a new job. I was very shy because my first impression of you was very different. I remember it was my second or third shift. For some reason, there was a pizza party going on. I don't know. They just had pizza. And they're like, oh, take a piece of pizza if you want. So I grab a piece of pizza and I'm standing there. And then you look at me and go, you can sit down.
I mean, you were the weirdo standing in the corner eating your pizza. So
yeah, man, that's on you. Just go sit. No, don't be weird. Go sit.
True. So how Camille and I met was, I was... Oh God, how old was I? I was 19. I had moved back to Vancouver. I was going to acting school and I got a job at a drugstore and you were my superior.
Yeah, I was a supervisor, which is I opened and closed the store basically meant that I could open and close. And when a manager wasn't there, I had to take all the shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had to take all that shit for those couple extra bucks.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Those $3 meant you dealt with the worst of the worst. Oh God, so much stuff went on in that drugstore.
It was legitimately probably $8 for the record. It was not that much of a raise. It was definitely not worth it.
Dang.
Yeah, the amount of times I called you, wow, for only $1.
Pretty much.
So I want to talk about, first of all, we can get into the job a little bit later, but let's talk about how we became friends. Because I think our friendship had a wild little beginning.
It did. Our friendship anniversary is actually next month.
Oh, it is.
Aw, that's exciting. Happy anniversry.
Yeah,
Early anniversary.
I don't know how many months or how many years.
How many years? Because, what was it? I was 19, so oh my God, are we putting up on our 5th or 6th year anniversary?
We're so old. Don't age us, okay? Don't tell people how old I am.
True. We're both 21. No, so how we became friends, because we were friendly, because when I started working there, we were quite friendly. Once you got over the initial, oh, this bitch is either stuck up or shy. Once I grew because I started in October, so it did take us a while to get used to each other. I remember the Christmas party. That was when we first started getting a little bit more comfy around each other. Do you remember the Christmas party?
A little bit. I mostly remember our fellow coworker and friend at the time who came and having a whole conversation with her boyfriend about how he showed up to an Asian restaurant to get stir fry, and he's really deathly allergic to peanuts, but he does not carry an EpiPen, and everybody being like, why don't you have an EpiPen if you will die if you eat a peanut? Like, I'm pretty sure it was like Thai food. It was like, there are peanuts, man.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember that too. And we were both like, what? And they also too, hadn't they like, they had broke up, got back together like 2 or 3 times since we like worked there? Because I know they're engaged now, but.
I'm not sure. Did they break up? I felt like they were pretty consistently together.
No, they did break up at one point because I remember they were going to get back together and she's like, what do I get him for Christmas? And I was like, okay, if you're possibly going to break up again, the best thing to get him for Christmas is something that he will no longer have in 6 months, right? Because if you think you might break up in the future, like you want to get them something that they're not going to have forever, right? So you don't get them like a sweatshirt or like an Xbox. I don't know. What other things do men like?
I don't know. Like, or do you want to get them something so that they think of you every day after you're gone and be like, I messed up, man. Leave the lingering memory of you behind.
Yeah. Or you could be like me and you give them an expensive watch and then when you break up, go, I want it back. And then you sell it.
I mean, yeah, pawn it, man.
Whatever works.
Exactly. No, so for the Christmas party, you and I talked about going to, it was a drag show or strippers? It was one of the other.
I think it's because there was where we were having the dinner, there was a topless bar not very far from there.
Right. And you were trying to convince me to go because you were with your roommate and I was with my roommate's girlfriend for some reason because I could bring a +1, but I didn't want to bring his roommate, but I liked his girlfriend. So I brought her with me.
Why not?
Yeah, no, she was very nice. Yeah. They're no longer together anymore.
I think we know why. Because you're moving in on his territory. You were like, hey, girl, come on, be my +1 to this dinner work date.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's when we started to become friends. But when we really became friends and what we consider our anniversary is when, so I was going to acting school. And so I hate, what do you call, you call me a self-loathing brunette.
That's
you are.
Another really good, the amount of times I've known Kelsey for a while now. And every time I want to dye my hair, I'm going to go full blonde. And then every time she goes to the hairdresser's like, you're not going full blonde, and talks her down off for a little bit. And now she's finally talked down again from going full blonde. Yeah, you're 100% self-loathing.
Okay, but this is
it the money? Or is it that your hair's compromised?
It's the money. But this was the first time I ever blonde. So I was sick of like, there was another brunette girl in my acting class who looked, there's always been another brunette girl who looks exactly like me, like same height, same build, like same hair. So from behind, people would get us mixed up all the time. So I was sick of it. I was truly sick of it. So one day when I was stocking the hair dye at the drugstore, I was like, reading the back. And then all my mind could think was, do it. So I bought a box of bleach, went home.
I'm sorry, did you buy 1 box of bleach for all of your hair? You had so much hair.
I had hair almost out to my butt at this point.
Kelsey.
So I took this box of bleach home, bleached my hair at 11 o'clock at night, stared at myself in the mirror, I was like, oh no, went to the closest store nearby. I think it was a grocery store, grabbed a bottle of purple shampoo because I had to tone it, but it was like that cheap purple shampoo that's like got like 1 drop of purple in it. Mm-hmm. Got a bottle of wine and was just like, I'm okay with this decision. And then I show up to work the next day. Oh God, I can't even remember what you said to me.
I don't even remember what I said to you. I just remember being total, like, I was cringing for you, or I was like, what happened?
I feel like it was probably something along the line of like, let me take your hand and we will fix this together.
Oh, it was so bad. So the top was yellow. I had also missed 2 spots, both behind my ears. So they were like circles of brown. And then the bottom...
They were big too.
And the bottom was orange. And then I remember our manager going, the one who liked me, not the one who didn't like me. The one who liked me went, her hair looks nice.
You paused. that's anytime someone's like, you look. It's nice. All I can think of was like, you paused, you hesitated.
Yeah.
You don't like it.
Oh, so no, you grabbed me and you're like, okay, we're going to fix this. It's fine. We're going to fix this.
It was really bad.
Oh, no. So because I remember you were like, do you want to go red? Like you were trying to get me to any color, but I was like, no, blonde. Like I've committed. Like I want to be a blonde. And I think you tried because I'd been cherry red before and you're like, cherry red would look nice on you, which I know it would. But for some reason I was just like, I need to be a blonde.
It's what's in your heart.
Exactly. So Camille picks out, she's like, we're getting this bleach, this dye. And then I go to your house that night. We actually found out we lived like only like 3 blocks away from each other.
I think I went to your house because I remember your giant ass tub.
Oh, yeah, you did go to my house. Oh, I missed that tub. I lived in student housing with this giant clawfoot tub. Oh, so nice. But anyways, so you fixed my hair.
I will admit it was not perfect. At the end of it, it was still probably more yellow than it should have been, but it was a vast improvement.
It was probably a lot better than what Kelsey had attempted to do.
Oh, no, it was 100% better. And then when I went to, because we did this all in one weekend. So I showed up for class on the Monday. And my friend saw me from behind and was like, who is this bitch? And I turned around and she's like, hi. And she's like, oh my God, when did Barbie get here? No, I look like Barbie.
No, I've seen a couple photos, and then I think you had a headshot where you were blonde.
Yeah, I had headshots with that blonde. I remember showing the headshot of me blonde to this guy I like kind of liked in Florida who turned out to be an absolute jerk. And I was like, curious. I was like, what do you think of this photo? Because we were talking about hair colors. And he's like, why are you showing me a picture of like a skinny Rebel Wilson? And I was like, that's me.
I mean, like, that's legit a compliment, though. She's adorable.
No, she's absolutely adorable. But I was like, I don't look that different.
I mean, you do. I would say that you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hair color can change a lot.
Yeah.
True.
Like, I looked very different when I had my pink hair. Like, I looked like a really, really tall 12-year-old. And now with my weird blonde gray hair, people are like, woman of mystery? Who's that? Like, I get so many people just being like, wow, like, so interesting. But in a way that I know they're not being like, oh, yeah, interesting, in a way of like, yeah, like, nice. And I'm like, yes, hello, it is me. But anyway, continue.
You're just projecting sophisticated woman who knows what she wants. And they're like, what are you about?
Absolutely. I just need to now feel that on the inside. Let's put those in there.
Well, no, we've all dyed our hair so many colors because me, like, since I've known Camille, I have been ginger, I have been blonde, I have been dark red, I've been strawberry blonde, I've been purple. Now I'm currently like with like an ombre blonde, but you have been so many things different too.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were talking to Amy or me.
No,
I've had tons of different hair colors.
Yeah, because you were, at first I think did you have black hair when I first met you? It was either dark brown or black.
It was probably really dark brown. I tend to go through periods of being like, I'm going to change my hair color every 2 months. And then I'm like, it's time to be a brunette for a while because I ruined my hair.
Fair.
So we worked at this drugstore for, I want to say 4 or 5 months together. And I definitely, once I learned that you lived like a couple blocks away from me, I started like just always coming over to your house. Like you and I are like the, like the Disney Channel trope where you just like open the door and be like, hi, I'm here.
That was you guys.
Oh, it was 100% us. Like she, like later on when we moved in kind of together, she made the mistake of giving me a key to her house.
Yeah, she legit stole my salsa at one point. And I was like, where's my salsa? And I text Kelsey and she's like, I'll bring it right down. And I'm like, when did you come into my house? Because I've been sleeping all morning. So I was like,
burglar.
Kind of. It's like, how did you get in here without me hearing you? Little unsettling.
For once in my life, I was sneaky. But so back to the drugstore. So we worked there and then something happened and I came in for work one day. You and I were talking. Our manager looks at me weird and then they let me go. So I'd never been fired from a job before, but I was fired from that job. And didn't you accuse one of the managers of doing something? I
don't remember, if I'm being totally honest. It feels like a really long time ago.
No, I remember this was so many years ago because I texted you thinking like, I was like, oh my God, did my friend betray me? Well, because I texted... Well, no, because like we had been talking away before my shift started. They also like waited I had got there a half an hour early too. They fully waited for my shift to start.
Oh yeah. Like the one time I ever got written up at work, I was in the back room 10 minutes early. My manager didn't say anything to me. And then as soon as I clocked in, he was like, here's this slip you need to sign. I was like, I've been sitting here for 15 minutes. Like, what the heck?
So like I'm on the bus home and I was like texting Camille like, oh my God, did you know? Because like that would have been like a betrayal if you knew it was happening and had just been like talking me away.
Mm-hmm.
No, I feel like the only people who are like in the know in that case was like the actual store manager and the owner. I don't think. Because I was there for a few people getting fired and I never knew.
Okay.
Until it happened.
No, like afterwards, I was like, of course you wouldn't know because like I felt like we were close enough that you would have been like, okay, listen, this is what's going to happen.
Just don't come in. Just give your notice.
Well, though, too, like, because there's a difference, though. If you get fired, they have to pay you for the rest of the week. If you quit, they don't.
Do they? If you're like on an hourly wage, like if you're not on salary?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they paid me for the rest of my shifts.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Maybe it just depends.
True, yeah. No, so I got let go. And then, so we were living, so I ended up getting a job because we were living in New West, and then I ended up getting a job in Burnaby. So I was like commuting from New West to Burnaby for a month until I moved in with roommate number 1 and crazy roommate number 2 into a house in the upper floor, and then they had a basement suite. So like the landlord who we had lived with then, we got along quite well. She actually randomly, because you know how she messaged you, Camille, the other day, or like a week ago, she messaged me too about the place.
That might have been because I mentioned you were back in town.
Yeah, she was like, "Hey, I heard you're back in town," and then she's like, "Do you know anyone who want to rent this?" And I was like, "Oh, like it's a bit outside my budget, but I'll let anyone know." And then she's like, "How are you?" And I was like, "I'm good. I'm just in school. How are you?" And she's like, "I am tired."
Fair. She's having baby number 2.
Having baby number 2. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because I remember when we lived there, she was like, "Oh, I don't want kids for a while."
Now there's 2.
Oh my God. Yeah, no. I don't know if I'd want to live underneath 2 babies.
I mean, like, I've done it, and I don't want to ever do it again.
Yeah.
No thanks.
So we moved to Burnaby. So when they like found this house, the top floor was 3 bedrooms, and then the basement it was 2 bedrooms. So I lived in there with roommate number 1 and 2. And then
After you stole it from an old couple.
Yes, I did steal it from an old couple. Well, I didn't steal it. But you always make the joke that I stole this house from an old couple. She just liked me a lot more than she liked the old couple. And the old couple was like, "We want cable."
Oh, who wants cable?
Exactly, right? So
I guess old people.
I was like, "I don't need cable. I don't use cable." But the old couple were like apparently like adamant about cable. So they gave it to us because she really liked me and I didn't want cable.
She's like, "Do you want cable?" And you're like, "I'm okay without it." And she's like, "You got it. Take it. Here's your key."
So we moved into this house, and then a couple months later, you and your roommate moved into the basement suite because the landlord liked you guys, liked us, and she wanted us to get along. So she was like, "Oh, if these 2 move in, like they'll be fine."
Yeah, she actually held it for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's unusual.
Yeah. I don't know, just like Camille's really likable.
Fair.
I'm a desirable tenant.
True, you are. You're a very good tenant. So we moved into this house. It was a 5-bedroom house altogether, but the suites were separate. And then that was interesting because one of my roommates was a dude who was like, we were friends, but he was also one of the messiest people on earth. And then my other roommate was one of my best friends until like, you know how like some of your friends you think you can live with and some of your friends, like you and I, we live together. AB and I live together perfectly.
Yeah.
But this girl who I thought was one of my best friends turned out to be an absolute psychopath. And I would never call a woman crazy unless she fully deserves it. I think she fully deserves it. What do you think, Camille?
She was very unreasonable.
Yeah. So our rents were separate, but we had to split the hydro. And your roommate was in charge of the hydro. And to know why why my roommate was crazy, so your roommate was like, "Here's how much the hydro is," and my roommate asked for her 25-cent change.
Oh yeah, she'd ask for like her nickel back, and you'd be like, "Really, girl? Let me find a nickel." Yeah.
Yeah. If hydro was $19.95 each, she'd hand her 20 and be like, "Where's my nickel back?"
Good Lord, get over it.
And then also, or she would go like weeks without paying it too.
And she had the audacity to ask for a nickel.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, no, this girl sound crazy. No thanks.
Also too, when we moved into this place, our landlord said it was completely soundproof. No, you could hear this girl stomping around upstairs.
Oh, honey, it was you too.
No, was it? It was just her.
Sure, Jan. Sure.
There was some late night boot stomping coming down the hallway.
Oh, and who do we know who loves to wear boots on this podcast?
You know what? No. So, no, okay, but the reason why, so we ended up having keys to each other's apartments, to call back to me stealing the salsa, is because, so I kept forgetting my key, and you could, like, my roommate, you could bang on the door, but he would be wearing, like, headphones all the time. So he could be home. You'd be banging on the door, like, let me in, and he just would not come out of his room. Mm. So we had this window in the bathroom that was, like, right above the tub that you could just barely get your body in.
God.
So, like, I remember a couple times, because I was like, because Camille, your roommate, was taller than me and skinnier than me, so she was able to shimmy in that window.
She is very athletic. She's an athletic lady.
Yeah. So, like, anytime I got locked up, because I'm not, like, I am short and I am not as skinny as she was. So she could just fit through that window. So I'd come downstairs and be like, I'm locked out. Roommate number 1 is not letting me in, or no one's home. So she would literally shimmy through this window, because the only reason we could still get in is because roommate number 1 would always leave the window open, even though how many times I told him to close the window.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't want to break into the house. But again, I think 5 or 6 times I had to break into my own home, or she had to break into my own home. The neighbors only noticed once.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So I gave Camille a key to my upstairs, and then you gave me a key to downstairs to stop it.
A privilege which you abuse.
Yeah, I was a Disney Channel character. 100% abused. Okay, well, first I started abusing it because you had a microwave and I didn't.
This is true. I remember you fully just, like, coming down, being like, I'm going to use the microwave, and using it, and then going like, bye, have a good night, and going upstairs.
Microwaves aren't that expensive, Kelsey.
Well, okay, the problem is my roommates were not willing to chip in on one.
Oh.
But they wanted one. But they weren't willing to split it 3 ways.
Oh, that's sucky. That's not fair.
Yeah, so that was the problem, was anything with the 2 of them is they'd want something, but they weren't willing to split it. So we didn't even get it. We got a microwave finally when Camille, your roommate, her work site was going to throw this perfectly good microwave in the garbage. And she was like, do you want it? So that's how we got a microwave, because they were literally just going to throw it in the garbage.
Well, there you go.
I know.
Pays to know someone.
True. So I stopped using it, but then also too, because I would come down all the time because I worked late. So I'd be like, hey, I'm off bartending. Do you want white or red?
Yeah, we definitely threw back a lot of bottles of wine.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're the worst. We enabled each other really badly. Yeah. No. And
it's your early 20s. It's what you do.
Exactly. And then also didn't help when we got a fire pit for the backyard, because, like, the one thing I miss about that house was the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a fire pit for the backyard, and, like, come on, when it's a summer night, a fire pit, like, it's just so tempting.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. So since I've known you, you've had quite a few different jobs. So when we first started working at the drugstore, then after we moved, I started bartending and serving at the restaurant. Do you want to talk about the jobs kind of you have done in the last 5 years?
In the last 5 years, I was following the drugstore, you mean?
Yeah. So what did you do after the drugstore? Because it was quite a far commute. So you wanted to leave the drugstore. It was
a really bad commute, especially because it was one of those scenarios where the earliest shift was like a 7 a.m. shift and the latest shift was till midnight. So your schedule would be all over the place. And then you're like, would not be able to adjust your sleeping, especially because commute on the train late at night is like over an hour. So like you cannot adjust your sleep cycle. So I was just really miserable, and I was trying to find something to get out of it. And I ended up applying to an adult store that sold adult things for adults, which I got. So I worked both simultaneously for a little while, hoping that I'd get more hours there. Following that, that's actually the only job I've ever been fired from as well.
True. That was such, like, that made me so angry when they fired you, because that was unjust.
I know that they had a really high turnover, like they let people go often, and it was often around the same time frame. So I feel like if they were in a position where they didn't think you were going to stay really long term, they wanted to get rid of you before they had to start giving you like the benefits that came along with it.
Yeah, that's so shitty, but it makes sense. It's business. It's awful no matter what.
Because I remember you working at that adult store, which was actually quite close to the restaurant I worked at, and they had you working long shifts.
Yeah, you would work like open to close by yourself with nobody else there, like all day.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, because if I worked like the day shift at the restaurant, I'd get off at 4:30 and I'd text you and be like, do you want coffee? Do you want lunch? Like, what can I bring you?
Yeah, she would bring like brownies into this like, I don't know. I don't know what a nicer way to say it's an adult store.
Yeah. I started going like, it was because I had never been into an adult store before. Like even when I turned 18, I just had no desire. But like I literally went into that adult store like 2 to 3 times a week just to bring you coffee and brownies and like sandwiches.
Oh, nice.
I know, and you never bought anything.
I think I bought one thing once. Like
you're ruining her conversion.
True. Yeah, I guess I kind of was.
I feel like the only thing you ever bought was like probably condoms.
Yeah.
Fair purchase.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, I'd buy something. They were like, what, 30 cents?
Probably pretty cheap.
Yeah. Do you want to tell any stories about the adult store?
I in general, like working there was definitely kind of a weird experience. There were some things about it that were kind of really nice that I liked, and there were lots of things about it that kind of made me lose hope in humanity, particularly men of a certain age.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, of course, like because of the environment and like being a younger woman, you tend to get people who feel like they can ask you questions that are overstepping a line because they're like, oh, but like, I feel like just being a young woman working in that kind of an environment, I feel like a lot of like middle-aged to older men feel like because you're working with stuff that pertains to sex, that they can ask you questions that are overstepping a line where you're like, I'm still here in a professional capacity and it's not appropriate for you to try to ask me like my personal preferences about stuff. Like it's not appropriate. Just general stuff like that.
Because I remember too, in one of the earlier episodes, we asked you for weird when we talked about sexual harassment in the workplace, and you talked about a man just calling you on the phone and breathing.
Yeah, he did it like all the time. So like all the girls just knew about it. And it was something you were warned about like literally my first day. They're like, this is going to happen.
Could they not just like block the number, or did he try to get new numbers? Like,
I think it was coming from like a blocked number already.
Oh no,
or something,
yeah,
or he'd like done the thing so you couldn't see his caller ID.
Yeah,
that. Trying to think about things from it. One of like the less savory things that I was definitely less comfortable with is like not all adult stores do it, but certain ones do, and the one that I worked at did. Where they do like the peep show.
Oh, okay.
The peep show is not like how they used to be back in the day where there were actual people there. It's not. It's basically like you pay money and you go into a room and you watch a video.
Interesting. And people wanted to do that in a public store?
Yeah, like there's like back rooms in the back, which I like never had to go into. They had a dude who would come in and clean them every week, and I never had to go in them.
Every week?
Yeah. It wasn't like something that people used a lot. I worked like 3 days a week, and I think there were like 2 different kinds of people you'd see. You'd see people who would come in the one time and never come back. And then you'd have people who like you saw consistently all the time.
I couldn't imagine. Like you can be a regular at a coffee shop, at a grocery store, at even like a retail store, whatever. Maybe you buy a lot of things or return a lot of things. But a regular at an adult store, that's a new level.
I don't know. I did have this one guy who was a regular who was actually super, super nice. He just like would come in on a Sunday, late afternoon. I don't know. Like the way I kind of thought about it, because the vibe that I got from him is maybe he's like, he's a family man. He probably has a house full of kids. He has a hard time getting any time to himself. This is just him doing what he's got to do. You know what I mean? Like he was a super nice dude and he was always very pleasant, and he just would come in and he'd pick out his lesbian porn and he'd go in the back room and he'd be super polite on his way out. And he was just a really nice guy. And you're like, okay.
All right. You know what? That's fine.
It's your thing.
Yeah, at least as long as you're polite and not creepy, that's all you can ask.
Yeah. I would also say like another thing that in the vein of like losing faith in humanity is the amount of men who would come in and know nothing about what their partner just liked. They were just like, well, I want to get something to make it better, but they have no idea. Like you try to like get a general idea of like, okay, well, what kind of thing do you think that she'd like? And they have no clue. They just think anything will work. And you're like, it makes you really sad because you're like, this woman's having such bad sex. I even had a gentleman come in, and I think I spent like 10 minutes arguing him about he wanted to get this like numbing cream. So you can get this like numbing spray that you put on your bits to help you last longer.
Oh, interesting.
Typically, the recommendation is you need to wear it with a condom, because if you don't wear a condom, you're going to transfer it to your partner. And then like you're lasting longer, but now they are too, because they can't feel anything. But his whole deal was that he did not want to use the condom because he did not want his wife to know that he was using it. And he's like, if we don't wear condoms, if I wear a condom, she'll know I'm doing something. And I'm like, but she's going to know if you don't wear it because she's going to be numb.
Yeah, I feel like that's just she's your wife. Have a conversation. Have a conversation.
Right?
Adults.
You can't talk to your wife,
right? Like a middle-aged man, yeah, like probably like in his 40s, yeah.
I think you're having bigger problems than your intimate relationship if you can't talk to your wife.
Oh my God, yes, sir. I would. What would you suggest? Therapy.
Therapy.
Pretty much.
Oh my God. Although, you know what? I will give you about your adult store. It was very clean. Like I
cleaned that every day.
Yeah, I was always because like some of them look like really like slimy and gross from the outside, but yours was so super clean. Like there was no speck of dust. There was like nothing on the floor. It was you kept the place tip top.
Yeah, I listened to CBC talk radio all day because the music stations just play the same stuff over and over, and I get bored.
Fair. Love it.
Probably some of the things that were nicer is like I did sell a few people like their first, like young women, their first toy, which is kind of like a weird thing to be like, like I feel like I did a good deed. But at the same time, I'm like, you're, exploring your sexuality and good for you that you felt comfortable. And I hope that I made you feel comfortable doing it and not made it weird.
Yeah, well, you're helping women take ownership of their own body, which is really great.
Yeah.
Kind of like the only other thing that sticks out to me that I remember is this one guy who came in who was a bit older than me, probably in like his late 20s. And he came in. He's a very nice dude. Like we're just whatever. He's just like, making small talk with me while he's going around the store. Like perfectly nice dude. And he like picks up this very large, like not even like a bottle, like a tub of anal lubricant. And he comes up to the counter and he puts it down to pay. And as he's paying, he asked me if I want to go for coffee. And I'm like looking at him in his giant tub of anal lubricant. And I'm like, thanks so much. It's really flattering. And I think I lied and said I was in a relationship. But yeah, I was like, no.
I don't know whether I want to say that's like really creepy or if that man just has like no fear.
The sheer confidence.
Like the sheer confidence to put that down and be like, yes, coffee.
He did. I will say he did not give any creepy vibes at all. He seemed like a nice dude. But I was like, nah.
No, thank you. Oh my God. Wow, I love that. So fascinating. What an interesting world.
If only I'd walked in with your cup of coffee at that moment.
I would have walked right back out.
Oh, sorry, I already have it. Yeah. Maybe next time.
So where did you work after the adult store? Because they fired you, which was bullshit. And then what was the salon next, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I went back to working just at the drugstore again full time for a little bit while I was looking for something else, because I was still working there part-time. And then I ended up working at a hair salon, a hair and nail salon, as a receptionist. So very similar to the job that you're doing now. I was there about a year. I don't know, like it was fine. It was probably one of the better jobs that I had, in that like I generally like the environment, even if there was a bit of drama that tended to spar up. I was usually not involved. But occasionally involved, mostly around like scheduling haircuts from the hairdressers, because there's like a rotation for it and how I do the schedule. And then every once in a while somebody want to like come up and try to argue with me that should be mine. And you're like, no, it's not. And let me tell you why. I don't know. It was good. I got good perks. I got my nails done when it was slow, and that was nice. I learned a fair bit about how to properly do highlights and do bleaching, and that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I remember one time you came home with like one side of your hair was green, one side of it was blue, and I was like, nice, let's go for dinner.
Yeah, that was that too. You get your hair done. The nice thing was like if you booked, you could come in and like book it on a day off and come in to get your hair done. If the person had like nothing booked for the day, as long as you were cool with them like jumping off to do stuff in between. And all I had to do was pay for the product, as long as like the stylist was cool with it. If they were like, yeah, I have nothing to do, come on in.
No, it's definitely a good perk. Because even like I got my hair cut and dyed a couple times while you worked there, and I got like the friends and family discount, which was nice.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was one of the nicer jobs. I did end up getting laid off just because the salon did not end up having as good a year as they'd anticipated, because they were doing really well the year before. And I think that they had some staffing issues throughout that year too, with like stylists moving versus they were previously very like stable. So I think that with that, like some clients left because they followed the hairdressers and stuff like that. So there was a bit of like that going on and they didn't do as well. So I ended up being laid off because they could not afford to keep me on.
Yeah, no, that sucks when that happens, because it's hard when you get laid off because you're like, I didn't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like that was also a scenario where it's like, well, it wasn't that you didn't want to keep me on. It was that you could not feasibly see going forward, like that you could not afford it. I think that since I've left, the salon did change hands within a year or two as well of me leaving. So I think that they maybe weren't doing as great as you would have hoped they would be. One of probably the better perks, though, just to be super cheesy, of that job was that through a coworker is how I met my partner. Because she was living in a house with a bunch of international people, and he was one of them, and that's how I met him.
Aww.
And then the rest was love.
Yeah, okay. We'll talk about it again in a month, and you tell me how you feel.
What are you talking about? I have a boyfriend, a husband, and a partner. Like,
I love it here.
You're so fulfilled.
All
So
I'm missing is a girlfriend, and then I'm good. And then maybe a dog.
Not in this apartment.
True.
Yeah, you don't have room, girl.
No, we're allowed to have a cat, but I don't want a cat.
I don't even have room for a cat.
True. I don't know where we'd keep a cat. The cat would probably just be like climbing the walls. No, the cat. So we live in the loft, right? We have all these rafters. I can just imagine looking up and the cat is just like climbing across the rafter. Nah.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Your cat would so get stuck up there, and you'd like be routinely being like, hello, fire department, my cat's stuck again. Like,
yeah.
It would not be a good time.
Oh, no.
It'd be like, Mittens, get your ass down here now.
Yeah. No pets.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm trying to think of like other. Okay, so where did you go after the salon? I'm trying to remember.
I did like 2 weeks of training for an online shoewear company.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was weird.
It was weird. And like kind of hopefully it went under, because the job looked like it was going to be awful, because it was basically like doing like customer support for the website, which sounded like it was going to be awful. They also like requested, based on like when you applied, that you put in like your general work hours, like before you had a chance to like Google Maps your commute. And then they were like, well, you put this in, so it's locked in for like X amount of months. So if you can't make it, that's your problem. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, because I'm pretty sure I put it earlier than I was actually able to make it. But they like declared bankruptcy like 2 weeks after me starting.
Dang, that's intense.
Yeah.
No,
I got like severance and everything though, so that was nice.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it was us like living together was definitely a very, very strange job of us doing like random different jobs. So because we definitely want to have you back, because there is so much more to tell. Like, there's this children's accessory store that I'm sure we could talk about for another hour. But I want to end the interview with today is, what is the best piece of advice someone has ever given you?
Like pertaining to work or just generally to life?
Pertaining to work, but it could be life as well.
Pertaining to work. Okay, the only thing I can think of right now off the top of my head is kind of a joke, but not really. I remember being in film school and having a professor specifically go into a lecture, and the gist of the lecture and the moral of the story was, if you're going to do coke on your own time.
You know, I think about that. Yeah, that's actually pretty solid advice. Wait on your own damn time.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Camille.
Thank you for being here today, and we'll have to have you back on because you have so much more experience we would love to share with our audience.
I know. I mean, I'm a boss now. We didn't even talk about that.
True. We didn't even get there.
We didn't. We'll have to next time, though.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you for your time. And you guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
Now, Camille, I just have one more question for you.
Yes.
Can you take my shift?
I mean, I really love to, but I have this thing out of town. I can't really talk about it because it's really personal for me. I'm really sorry. Maybe next time.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening this week. This week was really happy for me because I wanted to have Camille on since the beginning of this podcast. She was actually one of the first people I sent the name of this podcast to. I asked her if she didn't like my first name of the podcast.
I don't remember what the first working name was.
Neither do I.
Yeah, so obviously it wasn't good because I remember as soon as you said this name, I was like, no, that's it. That's the moneymaker because it's hilarious.
Yeah, no, and I'm very happy that you and Camille both vetoed the first one.
Yes.
So I guess since nobody can take my shift, I will do the outro. You can follow me at Kelsey Peets on Twitter, me at Kelsey Peets on Instagram. That's how you do the outro, right, Amy?
Look, I know we say always be plug-in, but since I did the intro, and I will say I did a bang-up job. I will do the outro because it's a lot of words to remember all at once, and I've done it for so long now that it's just second nature, so.
All right, give her a go. Take it away, Ernie.
Thank you. So, thank you guys for listening this week. You can find both of us at Can You Take My Shift? We are at Can You Take My Shift on Instagram. Give us a follow. We have some fun things coming for Christmas, hopefully soon. December's a busy month, so we'll get to it eventually. You can follow us on Twitter at CYTMS Podcasts. We've been pretty active there recently just because Twitter is my favorite social media platform of choice, so it's really fun to go on there and reply to people and stir up drama for no reason whatsoever. It's just a lot of fun.
Oh, yes, we've started drama with one Twitter user.
Yes. So go there, pay attention, maybe slapping someone with a lawsuit, but I will leave that. That's this week's spoiler with no context. You can listen to us on Anchor, on Apple Podcasts. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review or 5 stars. Both would be lovely. If you only have time to do one, it's really fast and simple to hit 5 stars. It just gets our podcast more out into the world, so we get new listeners because we love to grow and we love to get new fans listening to us so we can give you guys more content. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, on Spotify, and I know it's the season right now. If we're on anybody's Spotify Wrap, which I know we have been on a couple, please send it to us. Please tag it to us because I love seeing it. I love sending people my Spotify Wrap. I'm a loser who's listened to One Direction. They're always my top artist, and they haven't put out an album in 4 years, but I see it every year. And it's so much fun to see that people are listening to us, and we've now shown up on a chart of some sort. It warms the heart.
Warms my cold ice heart.
Yes. And last but certainly not least, you can watch us on YouTube. So if you're there, share, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also there in December, we're hoping to put up something a little fun and hopefully get some more content out there on the new year. So it was a very long-winded outro this week, but that's okay. So I guess, sorry, Kelsey, this week no one can take your shift.
No, you can't take it. Camille can't take it. It's fine. So I think I'm just gonna call out distressed.
That's fair. I think that should be an option, especially right now.
True. Or I could just not show up and not tell anybody about it. But you do you.
That's a story for next week when we get there. All right. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.